12 days into the election campaign, the Prime Minister's cheery demeanour has cracked, and it wasn't Tony Abbott who caused it. Labor has a leaker in its ranks, and Julia Gillard says she's angry. She halted campaigning today to deal with claims that she'd argued against pension increases and paid parental leave when she was in the Rudd cabinet. Tony Abbott says the leak shows a deeply dysfunctional government, but he didn't trade on their misfortune all day. He offered a $2 billion tax cut to try to get the business community on side. From Canberra, Chief Political Correspondent Mark Simpkin.
Julia Gillard toured a stormwater canal but didn't find any leaks.
Oh, we're a mob. We're sticking together.
Not as much as she'd like. Someone in the government spreading stories. They swamped this announcement on water storage and even bobbed up in the supermarket.
All a bit of silly carry-on, politics.
Julia Gillard didn't treat it like a silly carry-on.
I didn't want to shilly-shally around. I wanted to be frank with the Australian people about these allegations.
The Prime Minister denied she's opposed to paid parental leave and pension increases, although she did acknowledge questioning their affordability.
But I'm not a soft touch. And when those things are raised, then I'm going to ask the hard questions.
Sources told the ABC Cabinet discussed paid parental leave in 2009 with the budget in deficit. They say Julia Gillard did question the government's priorities, but when assured the scheme could be paid for, was all for it.
I mean, with respect, give me a break. Frankly, I believe that analysis is completely ridiculous and absurd. Oh, look, of course I'm angry that someone would engage in this kind of conduct.
So who is engaged in the leaking? A certain former Prime Minister was nowhere to be seen today, but released a statement denying he's ever breached Cabinet confidentiality.
What we have is a deeply dysfunctional government which does not deserve to be re-elected.
The talk of mutiny also threatened to drown out Tony Abbott's cash splash. After a morning ferry ride, he vowed to cut the company tax rate by 1.5%.
It'll cost $2.1 billion a year. We'll pay for it out of the $24 billion in savings on recurrent spending that we have already identified.
In 2013, Labor's company tax rate would be 29%. The coalition's would be lower, although big companies would also be hit with a levy to pay for parental leave.
Now, he's trying to con the Australian people because what he doesn't mention is that he's going to increase the company tax rate.
Just last month, he belittled a bigger cut than the one he's now offering.
No one much is going to notice a 2% cut in company tax.
At least one other senior minister questioned the cost and politics of paid parental leave. But the real problem for the government is a campaign being waged within. As one source put it, we know where it's coming from, but we can't do anything about it, and we don't know what's next. Mark Simpkin, ABC News, Canberra.